Well, good morning or good evening, wherever you happen to be watching this live cast. I'm excited today because I have with me here Ricardo Vargas, the author of this fantastic book, Chief Executive Team, The Transformation of Leadership. I said morning or afternoon or evening because Ricardo is in Portugal. And I don't know, I guess it must be 6 o'clock or something like that, 6 p.m. in Portugal. And what's really been exciting is this book has been launching around the world for about the last 10 hours in all these different time zones, all different markets. So thank you for joining us here on the livecast. Ricardo, I want to bring you on here. Good evening for you.
Good evening, good morning. Great to be here with you, Everett.
Thank you, thank you. Well, this is an exciting time. This is a big accomplishment. You have been working so hard on this book, and we are excited to launch it for you today. And you and your launch partners as well, those people who are helping support you throughout the world. As we sit here now, I'm watching your book ranking in Germany, in Australia, Canada, the U.S., UK, and other countries. It's really wonderful. Before we go too far, Ricardo, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do before we get into the story of the book.
Okay, so that might be requiring a long answer or a short answer. The short answer is I'm a person passionate about people transformation and people development. The longer answer is that I took a degree in psychology, an expertise in family therapy, psychological coaching. I'm a professional certified coach. I'm a certified management consultant. I'm a certified speaking professional. But that is the long answer. Those are tools for supporting people in their transformation processes. And in this case that we are talking about with the book today, it's about supporting executive teams to transform themselves in order to transform their organizations.
All right. So thank you for that. And by the way, we've got people putting in comments from us too. Certainly use the chat log there, the comments log, to say hello, cheer Ricardo on, and also ask questions. And I'll feed those to him as we go. By the way, I would be remiss if I don't do. The book is available right now on Amazon, and you can pick the full version. Is on a 99-cent special right now, which is a great steal, honestly, for the content of this book for 99 cents. We pick that up right now on Amazon. And the deal with Kindle, if you're experienced with it, is if first you don't have to have a Kindle device to read a Kindle. You can actually utilize any smartphone, any tablet or computer to read the Kindle version of the book. Second, when you go to buy the Kindle book, know that Amazon's a little bit weird about where it allows people to buy it. You may find that you need to buy it from Amazon.uk or from Amazon, even if you don't normally buy from those markets. But you find the book there, and Amazon will direct you. So, all right, let's come here. So, Ricardo, tell us why you wrote this. Tell us about the importance of Chief Executive Team and why people need this.
Yeah, well, I wrote this book because I could not avoid it, actually. I was kind of avoiding to write this book for 25 years. I started working with executive team development roughly 24 years ago. And for over these 2 decades, I developed models, I researched, I read the research, I practiced those models with my clients, so mostly multinational operating companies around the world. I have clients in many continents. And I just didn't have time to write this book because I was also at the same time focused in growing my consulting business. I run and I'm the founder of Consulting Owls, which is a European-based consulting company. We service clients around the world, but we are based in Europe. So there was not really much time to do this. And last year, when the lockdown came, I suddenly found myself with some extra time because I had to stop my traveling, I had to stop my in-person appointments, I had to, all my calendar, as most people's calendars in my line of business, consulting, coaching, speaking, was just vanished. So I looked at a couple of months ahead with the biggest pause that I've ever had. And I was like, what am I going to do with this time? And actually, I remember the words of my first client in executive team development, and it was actually challenging me to write this book. So I decided to have a go at it, and almost 1 year later, here it is.
Well, and this is no, you've spent a lot of great content in this book. This is not a 100 pages ebook, right? And you've really created a lot of content. And I want you to tell people why Chief Executive Team, why people to concentrate on the executive team. Share that with us, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, as you mentioned, this is not just your normal, regular 100-page book with one concept, right? This is my 5th book. I have 4 books published in Portugal, Spain, and Brazil in 2 languages. And some of these books, some of my previous books, are actually part of the curriculum in several universities in Europe, Brazil, and elsewhere, Argentina. I just got a phone call a couple of months ago of someone in Argentina that was using one of my models of the previous books in their PhD research. So I like to have a solid, what I call evidence-based approach to my work. So I try to have as much evidence as possible. That means research. So the book is packed with research, but it's also packed with my cases, the cases of clients, the cases that I've been encountering over these 2 decades. So it's also a very practical book. So in a sense, it's a mix between a very practical handbook, an academic book, because there's the evidence. If you care for that kind of information, you will find it there. But at the same time, I believe, and that's what my first readers tell me, it's a very simple reading. It's a book written in a very simple, colloquial language that brings both cases and research to the reader in a very I'd say smooth way, interconnecting these different levels. And why Chief Executive Team? This is the team that most organizations don't look at. When they are thinking of how to improve the organization, they often forget the executive team as the main source of dysfunctionalities in the organization. So when I started working with these teams a bit over 2 decades ago, I found out from my experience, and then because there was not much research available, and then from the research that was surfacing in management and in organizational psychology, I found out how troubled usually these teams are, how dysfunctional they might be, and how much this dysfunction cascades down the organization and provokes inefficiencies and ineffectiveness in the whole company through the processes and the leadership styles, etc., that the team brings. So there is this huge potential to improve the organization by addressing how the executive team works. And usually when we think of C-level, we speak about CEO, CTO, CIO, CMO, COO, and those are individuals. And no one usually speaks about the chief executive team. So I was kind of playing with the words, but bringing the point that you need to consider a different type of leadership. That's why I speak about a transformation of leadership. You need to bring the collective intelligence of the team members together to create a new model for envisioning, a new type of future for the organization, creating the organization to achieve that type of future, that mission and vision, and lead the people in the organization to achieve it. So in that sense, when we speak about chief executive team, I'm speaking about a different type of reality in the leadership panorama, that the landscape that we see today, right? And I developed a specific model to transform these teams. So I coach CEOs and I coach these teams and I consult with these teams. I'm an executive team advisor in the transformation process of bringing the collective intelligence of this group of people in a different way to tackle the current challenges. And you cannot just afford not to do it these days, especially with the environment that we are having, with the different types of crises that we are having. You need this collective intelligence at work in order to transform your organization.
Yeah, you had a quote in your book, and I won't try to get the quote exactly, but speaking to a chief executive, and you were explaining your background not just in the coaching consulting world, but also the training you've had in regards to families. And he said something like, "Well, wait, but we don't have a disorder. We don't have," and your response was great. It's like, no, you don't necessarily. But if your team has any dysfunction, right, it's going to impact every other team. It's top down dysfunction, probably not a great thing, right? In any degree. So I appreciated that. Who do you like? Who did you really write this book for? Because there's some people that would say, "Oh well, hey, I'm not the CEO, I'm not the CTO, I'm not the COO, I don't need a book."
Yeah. Well, actually, any leader in any organization that leads and needs to design their part of the organization. You can be a business unit manager, you can be leading a team, you can be a manager of an operating company, a COO or a CEO. It doesn't matter the level. Anyone that is interested in or is required to design an organization or to make an organization execute a strategy will benefit from this book, because everybody, not only the chief executive team members, but everybody in any organization is impacted by the dysfunctionalities of these teams. And I explain in the book exactly where do these dysfunctionalities come from. They come from structural restrictions that these companies put in place for these teams. They come from past behaviors of the CEO. They come from attempts at solving the teamwork problems that don't really work because they are designed for any other team in the organization, but not for the specific needs of these teams. So anyone that is required to live with an executive team, which means any leader, will benefit from this book, either because they are the ones actually having the dysfunctional behaviors, or they are the ones suffering from the dysfunctional behaviors. Usually, if you are a top leader, a C-level executive, what happens is that people think, yeah, this doesn't apply to my company. But actually, there's research on that. There's research that says that C-level executives are the last ones to know about the problems in the organizations. And there's very interesting research saying that the CEO usually is the person who has a mistaken evaluation of the performance of their teams. So the team members know the reality and know that actually the team performance is not that good, and the rating that the CEO gives to the team is usually higher. So I say, and I defend this in the book, actually it's the first chapter of the book, that the inefficiencies of executive teams are the elephant in the room. Everybody sees it, everybody smells it, everybody suffers with its weight, with the oxygen that it breathes, but no one calls it out. No one says, well, that's the elephant. So C-level executives usually don't know what's going on until too late. And the book helps people to prevent that and to design leadership strategies that are more effective and efficient in delivering the strategy that is required.
Excellent. As a reminder, you can get the book now, Chief Executive Team, on Amazon for 99 cents. Paperback also available. And definitely would encourage you to do that. I would say, you know, like you said, it's not just the member of those teams. It's also those people who deal with the dysfunction of teams, and those people who hope one day to be in that position of leader, right? Why not learn how to do it now and save the mistakes instead of getting there, making mistakes, and then realizing that that you need this information. So I want to share a few comments with you from people that have come in. So let's see here. Got a happy from Melanie Ribeiro. I've got this is exciting from Amy. Ana Filipa Cruz from Portugal is saying hello. Malia says, just got a copy. Marta Santos, yes. And then Nicole had a very nice comment here. Let me read this to you. This is truly disruptive, using collective intelligence at the top of the company to prepare the future. This is really the way to go. Congratulations for bringing us together in one book. Excellent. Oh, and congratulations, Uncle. And I don't know how do you say his name? I can't. Pishao.
Yeah, well, Pessoa.
Okay.
Person.
All right. Very good. And then Chris had a question for you here. Chris asked, "What's one of your favorite transformations into a CET that you have witnessed?"
Well, yeah, I can give you an example. I started working with a specific team that had very incompatible leadership styles, that had processes that were not really effective and efficient, and there was a high level of fragmentation in that team. And I use the process that I share in the book. I call it the 6 P's of executive teams. So it is a process whereby you structure the development of the team through 6 phases, 6 development phases. You go from the purpose of the team to the processes, the people, the problems, the possibility, and the potential. So basically, it's a full program to revamp and solve the problems of the team, both in efficiency and effectiveness. So we were halfway of this process, and I was working with the team through a workshop. Actually, we were at the problem-solving phase, which is the 4th P of my 6P sequence. And suddenly, one of the team members looks around the room and says, "Guys, do you see how nice we are being to each other? Don't you miss having those horrendous fights? Sometimes I even miss it. We were so pathological in our relationship to each other." So, and everybody was laughing, right? But that is a turning point that I see often. It's a turning point of people realizing there's a moment when the team realizes that they are not anymore the team that they used to be. They were transformed, and they are able to look back to whom they were individually and as a team and take a good laugh at themselves. They laugh at the people they were before, and this means they will not go back to that anymore. And this is a turning point. This is a tipping point that I see in teams happening through the 6 Ps. Some when in the process. This tends to happen, and when it happens, I know that that team will be transformed forever, and that those individuals are transformed forever. And I never know when it happens. I never know. Sometimes it happens very early in the process, sometimes later in the process, but it happens. And when it happens, I just look around, and of course I build on it, right? I work with the team. What does that mean? What does that laughing at ourselves? What does that looking at the past of who we were means for them, right? So what does, guys, do you remember how dysfunctional we were with each other? What does this sentence mean for the team when they take a good laugh at it? So this is a natural situation, but in different ways, this tipping point, this transition point usually happens in more or less the same way. And when it happens, I'm really happy, because I know that I've changed, I've helped those people change their leadership styles, their relationships forever. They will not be the leaders that they were before, ever again. And this tends to happen frequently. I basically live for that.
All right. Now, I'm curious to know, is there any part of this book you feel kind of wrote itself?
So I am a very fast writer. I'm a published author since age 15. So I have some stuff published in poetry and prose in fiction since I'm 15, 16 years old. So when I shifted to business books and I started writing my first business books in 2005, I wrote them in Portuguese, and then they were translated to Spanish. And I have a very fast writing process. When I sit down to write, everything is structured. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know exactly what each chapter will be. I have a very clear structure. And I had that for this book. This is my 5th book, but it's my first book that I wrote in a language that is not mine. I'm not an English native speaker. So I was struggling in the beginning. So I wrote the book as 12 chapters, including introduction and conclusion. And I had written six chapters, and I was working with my editor, and she was giving me feedback, and I was trying to integrate the feedback. And I was integrating the feedback, and what was happening was that I was not happy with the end result. The way that the chapters were coming was really strange for me. And I understood that I was applying my basically my Portuguese writing style to write in English, and that was completely not working. I had to find my voice writing in English. So I took a pause, and I paused the writing for 1.5 months. And then I decided to start with the remaining chapters, so the last chapters of the book, and the book just kept coming. Right, so I wrote chapter 6 in 4.5 days, and it's really a 40-something page chapter, right? So I wrote that chapter, and when I wrote it, I looked back and I was okay. I found my voice. Now I have to rewrite the full book according to this. So I went back and I wrote everything from scratch, from introduction to conclusion. Now with this voice. So basically, it was a very difficult process in the beginning. I was struggling in finding my voice, and then the book just wrote itself completely. I would sit down and write a chapter on average, depending on the chapter, anywhere between 4 and 6 days. So that's how it came about. So basically, which is what I'm used to when I'm writing in Portuguese. It's very fast to write because there's the structure. I've had a lot of help from my team, doing research, doing a lot of support in the research. Amy, who was commenting a while ago, was supporting me on the research. So it was really, really good. But all my team was supporting me throughout this book.
All right. Very good. And I can't imagine the challenges, of having to write across more than one language, not having had to do that myself. Amy had actually a couple great questions. We're going to pass this one along to you. Says, Ricardo, you've been talking about transformation. I can imagine it's not always easy. Can you explore a bit how you overcome this? And was there a very different situation that you can tell us about?
Yeah. I spoke a bit about my past as a family therapist, and I was doing my practical education in a psychiatric hospital in the ambulatory service. And when you deal with anorexic patients, girls that come with nasogastric feeding, or drug addicts, or psychopathic or psychotic patients, you find the most difficult cases of transformation that you can think of. Because any mistake that you can make, the person dies, or the person might even kill you. There's stories like that. So the difficulties of transformation in the business context, for someone that comes from this clinical setting, are not really so big. I am very comfortable being in a room with more or less powerful figures, more or less disturbed persons, more or less whatever, because I'm used to be with people. I'm a psychologist, I'm a trained therapist, so I'm used to deal with people. And having said that, so there's this part of none of the situations that we face in business is as difficult as doing a transformation with patients, with severely disturbed patients. But having said that, there are some situations where you reach a roadblock, where the team is just blocked and emotions just start growing. So yes, I have situations where I'm running workshops and people start screaming at each other in the executive team. People can become very disrespectful. They have very rude behavior. But when those situations happen, for me, it's just material to work, because they are displaying emotions. They are displaying their thinking process. They are displaying their assumptions. They are displaying their biases. They are displaying whatever they think, feel, or act according to the problem. So everything is material. Everything is data. That's how I deal with the situation. So I trust the process, and that's why I follow this very structured process, although I don't have two interventions that look the same. Because the process itself takes us somewhere. I am very interested in fractures. I'm very interested in fractures in people's lives, how people overcome gaps, how people overcome trauma, how people overcome fractures. And my job is to create the development experiences for executive teams by using this information of these transitions, how these transitions happen inside the person's brain, inside the person's body. How do these transitions happen? And then I create the process, I create the experiences where they can confront with the collective mind, where they confront with the collective emotions, and they can decide if they themselves want to surrender individually to the collective process or not. We need that. We need that to produce a transformation in the organization. We need that to produce a transformation in the executive team. Each individual has to surrender to the process. This doesn't mean that they abdicate their power. This doesn't mean that the CEO loses power or authority. It just means that they trust the process and they trust me as a catalyst of their own transformation. So some processes are difficult. I've had very difficult situations, very tense. I've had situations where I thought, I left the room and we all leave the room and everybody's thinking, this was really tough today. Will we continue? Will they fire me? Will we have a next workshop? And the next day or 2 days later, I get a phone call from the CEO and they tell me, you know what? It was a very tough session, but now I see people shifting. I see that the mindset is changing and people are changing their behaviors. So transformation is not always easy. When the process gets tough, it's exactly when we are getting to the point where we need to, you know, push a bit harder to make transformation happen.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, thank you. First, thank you for writing the book. Thank you also for coming on the live cast here today. It's super exciting. I'm going to leave us with one last comment. Isabella wrote, went from poetry to business books. Maybe you kept on seeing the subjectivity and beauty present in human relationships. She said, in fact, poetry might still be there. So wonderful. Ricardo, is there anything else you'd like to leave people with? Other than, of course, we know people need to grab that book for 99 cents for the Kindle version or pick up the paperback.
Yeah, well, you don't get many chances to have, you know, kind of 400 pages of research, cases, and experience, 25 years of experience packed in a book for 99 cents. So just take the opportunity today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Ricardo, thank you again. And it's been an exciting day so far. It is not over as your book launch day continues. It's so great to see different promotional partners from around the world coming to bat to support your book launch as well. So congratulations again.
It was a pleasure to be with you, Everett. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so pick up the book for 99 cents. You can do that on Amazon today. Again, it's Chief Executive Team, the Transformation of Leadership. Really a fantastic book, just loaded with information to improve the team, and so valuable. Thank you again for joining our Launch Livecast. Take care and have a great afternoon, morning, or evening.